In the words of the immortal Stan Lee from Marvel Comics, it's 8-day weekend. Nuff said.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Luke Robinson. That's Jimmy Stein. This is Locked On Bama. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network there is. Jimmy, A-Day is this weekend, and it's a big one. It really is. I feel like this is the biggest A-Day in quite some time. I mean, but maybe it's because the quarterback uncertainty. Maybe it's because Alabama's coming off one of their most thorough ass whippings in years from Indiana. I don't know what it is, but it feels like this one's more important. That said, I always think A-Day is important, and then when it's over, I'm like, hey, it wasn't that big of a deal. This year, I think it's going to be different, though. I swear. This time.
I think for anyone that believes Luke's saying is true, and I know I do, it's big for this reason. There is like 16 or 17 jobs open. I mean, by that, there's just competition at virtually every spot, every position group, except maybe DB, but even the DB has some interesting things to see. I think the number of position battles, quarterback, what's going to happen at running back, which I've decided, by the way, is probably the most intriguing position on the team, or maybe Alabama's biggest question mark. I know a lot of people would say offensive line, but the offensive line has sort of come together quicker than anyone thought, but there's still competition up front. Looking forward to seeing who are the ones on offense and defense, who plays with the ones on offense and defense. For those unaware that haven't been before, in terms of for those going, A-Day is going to look exactly like those scrimmages that are only open to the booster groups, the scrimmages that you've heard about or read about for years. It appears to me to be an exact replica of what those scrimmages are. That's what the format's going to be. It won't be a real game. There won't be scores. There won't be stats. There won't be Austin Mack is back to pass and he throws a 39-yard completion to Latsier Brooks. I don't know that there's going to be any of that. It's going to be what those first and second scrimmages are that 99% of Alabama fans don't get to see, but you will get to see it tomorrow if you're at the stadium. Again, no TV, no streaming. There will be a radio broadcast with Chris Stewart and Tyler Watts, but there is no TV. But I'll be on live. I'm going, and we'll have a live show shortly after A-Day. For those of you who can't see it, I'll talk about it, what I see right here on the show tomorrow.
I caught it.
Yeah,
That doesn't count as the mute thing.
It.
The guy who keeps up the mutes.
Yeah, we're not going to count that.
I don't understand, though, why now that the transfer portal is a one-time thing, pre-spring, I don't understand why somebody can't put this on. Somebody. I mean, ESPN Plus doesn't even want to have it, and then have the Chris Stewart broadcast run over it. Like, instead of having to buy two new guys to come in or pay two new guys to come buy two new guys, pay two new guys to come in and call the game, you can just, sync it up with Chris Stewart's broadcast. I mean, and I'm sure that, that would cost a little bit of money too, but it wouldn't be as much as getting two new dudes. And just, I don't understand. I mean, why couldn't this just happen?
I don't understand. I can't give you an answer, and there's a lot of discussion going on the boards and in social media about why isn't Alabama doing this to make some money? Why can't Yay Alabama stream it and everybody pay to see it, and Yay Alabama makes money? I see all this.
There's no audio. Who cares if there's audio?
Well, here's a couple of potential answers. First of all, there are broadcasting rights, and when people say no, it's a spring game, now I think there are broadcasting rights. I would think for anyone other than ESPN to show an Alabama football product on TV like that, a game from Bryant Denny, it's going to have to be through ESPN or with their permission. They literally pay hundreds of millions of dollars for that right. So I think that, and this is my answer as to that. There's 136 FBS football programs. No one is showing their own spring game. No one out of 136. So to me, this looks more like a can't than a won't, because no one else is doing it. There are only
one spring game on anywhere.
There are 11 spring games that are going to be televised in some form or another based on research done by others that I've read. 11 total. Most of them on Big Ten Network and SEC Network, or the Big Ten Network Plus or SEC Network Plus. 11 out of 134. So all the people upset at Alabama, when they're like, isn't Alabama's spring game important? Well, where's Notre Dame's? Where's Texas? Where's Ohio State? I mean, it's just not a thing right now. Now, here's what I'm upset about. Is I don't understand why it's not a thing. I want to see all the spring games. I'm sick enough to where on a Tuesday morning, I'd watch about an hour and 45 minutes of Texas Tech spring game. I would. Now, obviously, there's not enough of me out there to justify putting all these spring games on. I would watch. Apparently, the bean counters don't think enough people do to justify the expense of putting them all on. But don't be mad at Alabama because, again, if other schools were showing their own spring game and Alabama wasn't, then I think it's a fair question. But no one is. No one is. The only spring games on are on, quote, networks. So it's probably a contractual thing.
So the skyboxes and the suites and all that, they're not open, which I also think is a little silly. I think you could say, all right, here's the deal. We'll open the skyboxes, but it does cost $500 to come in. And you could say, well, it's my own skybox. I know, but I'm saying we're trying to raise money here, and I'd do something like that. That, again, that's
not the reason. That's not the reason. They're not open because of the concert. They're prepping that area up there for the concert next week. The concert is what is closed off.
You mean a week?
I don't know what's going on. I just know that's the reason.
The scrimmage it's essentially all offense versus all defense. And he's like, of course it is. Well, it seems like it's not necessarily going to be, the first team offense, first team defense against second team, or 1-2 versus 2-1 is going to be, just offense versus defense at all times. And I don't know necessarily how any scoring is going to be.
It's not going to be any scoring.
There's not
going to be any scoring. There won't be any scoring.
I don't like that.
Well, it's a practice. I mean, that's what people have to understand. It's a practice. It will look exactly like the booster attended scrimmages, which is, exactly like them. So there's no scoring. The defense isn't scoring. It is ones versus. Now, DeBoer likes to do this. Different than Saban, by the way, because those scrimmages in the past. I've been to both. Saban liked in general to have his first team offense work against his second team defense and his first team defense to work against the second team offense. DeBoer doesn't like that. DeBoer likes to do ones versus ones, twos versus twos, threes versus threes. That's what I'm 100% expecting to see tomorrow. You will see the first team offense. When you see the first team offense, they'll be playing against the first team defense. Now, keep in mind, some kids shuttle between the first and second team. They're not just with the first team all day. They'll, like Keelon, Russell, and Austin Mack, for instance, I believe you will see them take 50-50 reps with the first team offense and 50-50 reps with the second team offense. I don't believe you'll see Jet Tamala and Taden Kahava against twos or ones. They'll be probably exclusively with the threes and do threes versus threes, and they'll split those reps equally. That's 100% what I'm expecting to see, but not. I don't get the memos. That's just a guess on my part, but I'm pretty confident in the guess.
All right, so enough about everything surrounding A-Day. We're going to talk about guys who we think either expect to shine or we need them to shine. But I do want to tell you about Mazda, which is moving you forward. Mazda is just the absolute best. And if I ever find this thing, why is it that when I'm about to do one, like I can't ever find, here it is, the overlay. That's what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Look, this is Mazda moving the game forward. For those who know, the score never tells the whole story. Look, I'm going to highlight the Alabama softball team. The Alabama softball team, they just keep kicking chicken right now. So proud of them. And they've got a big series this weekend with Auburn at Auburn. And, it's another golden opportunity to sweep. And if the softball team sweeps Auburn and the Alabama football team beat Auburn and the basketball team was 2-0, the baseball team was 3-0, and the softball team was 3-0. Now, I know the women's basketball – I don't know if they played them twice or once, but I know they lost at Auburn. regardless, that's still a pretty doggone good year against your in-state rival. So that's my highlight, is the Alabama softball team right now. There's more to these players than the highlights, the early mornings, the late night runs, constantly showing up for their squad on and off the court or field. The all-new Mazda CX-5 moves the same way, with more space to connect, a bold new design, and more intuitive technology, so you can stay connected to the road and every position you play. The all-new Mazda CX-5, more to move every side of you. Yes, that's exactly how that is written, and I read it. Then there's TurboTax. Y'all know next Wednesday is like tax time, right? Y'all know that? Yeah. I know there's some out there. I did my taxes over a year ago. It's tax time. But for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide, and you can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled correctly. Mundo. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment today, because next week, probably going to be too late. Okay, so I want to talk about some guys that, we're eager to see at this A-Day, and who we think, they got a lot of promise. I think Steve Mboumoa, to me, is way up there. Like, I say we're excited to see him. I won't get to see him. You will. So I expect you to come on here and be Mboumoa-tastic.
Yeah, he's a guy that's had a big spring. I think one of the things that I would like to do soon, with spring practice ending this week, by the way, for people that don't realize, they're going to practice twice next week. A-Day is actually practice number 13. There will be practice 14 and 15 next week. Following the conclusion of that, I would like to formulate in my head, what have been the 10 biggest stories? And by that, I mean personnel. What are the 10 biggest surprises? What do we not see coming? Steve Mboumoa is definitely one that would be on the list for me, because I thought, to show how wrong I am, because I'm wrong all the time, I thought Mboumoa would be about a year away. I thought, 2027 is going to be his arrival, and I think he could be something really special when the light comes on 2027. No, I think the light may have come on already, and I think he's going to be a 2026 thing, and I'm almost certain that we will see him tomorrow and this fall in the first team rotation. Is he going to start the games? Probably not. But hey, all that really matters is who plays with the first team. Because you're playing with the first team, you're playing when the game is in doubt. You're playing when the game is being decided as to who's going to win or lose. I think Mboumoa is a guy that, along with Devin Tompkins and Terrence Green and Kedrick Bingley-Jones and Jeremiah Beeman, another guy we don't talk about enough, Asaya Faga, has had a nice spring, and he's a thing. Edric Hill, a guy we don't talk about. Edric Hill made more plays on a per snap basis last year than James Smith did. So that's interesting.
That is like shot across the bow from Jimmy Stein to James Smith.
Well, I'm just saying. I think
I'm with you.
I have a tendency. I'm not being super critical of James, so I think he's going to have a good year at Ohio State and be a pro football player. But boy, some acted like losing James Smith was like, losing Jonathan Allen.
Yeah.
And Edric Hill, on a per snap basis, made more plays than James Smith did. Now, obviously, James played a lot more snaps. Harder to do it when you're playing a lot of snaps. Easier maybe to do it when you're fresh and you're playing very few, or if you're playing at the end of games. But no, that's a true fact. And Edric Hill's a guy we don't really talk about as, hey, he's going to be one of the best defensive linemen. But I think he's yet another guy that's going to be in that first team rotation, which is huge. There's 7-8 interior defensive linemen that I believe will play with the first team. That's a stunning number. Like 5 would be great. I think there's going to be like 8.
I'm excited also about 3 receivers. I won't 1.5 of them to really stand out. Like
Talking about Ryan, Lottie, and Noah?
No.
Okay.
You got one of them. I know Lottie. I don't need Lottie to do
Lottie.
a thing. I got Lottie, man. I don't need Ryan to do a thing. I'm bought back in 100% that Ryan's going to be freshman form next year. I'm bought in. You don't have to sell me.
They asked a bunch of players on the team. By the way, there's a great video sitting inside Scoop. There's just a great video on Yay Alabama's Instagram page. And I know a lot of y'all probably aren't on IG, but there's a great video on Yay Alabama's Instagram page where they interview one of these quick, hey, who's the best? Spring superlatives is what they call it. They asked who's been the best player this spring. A lot of Ryan mentions. That's encouraging, big time.
Yeah, and I don't need him to do anything. I know what he can do. Yeah, of course. I mean, I want Ryan to show out when the season comes around. I want 1.5 of these receivers to do well. Now, I mean, I say 1.5 because, I mean, saying 2 it seems like I'm asking too much. Asking for just 1 seems like too little. Cederian Morgan, Noah Rogers, and Derek Meadows. I need to see one of those guys be great. One of those guys show flashes of greatness, and then I can be patient on the other one. So when I say show flashes, that's where my half comes in.
Yeah. No, I get it. And what I would like to see, here's what I've wanted to see at wide receiver. I'm so convinced Ryan and Lottie are going to have big years. My concern, if you want to call it that, because concern is probably the wrong word, but my concern was we were going to look like we did in 2021 when the 2 wide receivers were Jamison Williams and John Mechie. And then there was a gulf down to the number 3 guy. And when Mechie and Jamo got hurt, we were out of bullets. We didn't have an arrow in the quiver to throw at Georgia in the second half of that national championship game because Mech and Jamo were both gone by that point, and we didn't have anybody. So my concern was, I know Lottie's going to be great. I know Ryan's going to be great. Are we going to have more than that? That's what I want to see Saturday. Noah Rogers, Derek Meadows, Rico Scott, Cederian Morgan. I want to see those guys make plays so I don't feel like we have the 2021 situation.
Okay, I should revise. I want 2 of 4. I'm adding Rico Scott in there. Rico Scott, somebody mentioned this either on Twitter or YouTube comments or something, or our Discord page, which you can go check out. LockedOnBama.supercast.com, $5 for the month or $50 for a year. Rico Scott's the most forgotten guy on this team, which is weird because they went out of their way to get him out of the portal.
Yeah. They like him. They wanted him back. Physical presence. He had an issue with drops this spring. And so he's got to have a nice day. I mean, he's got to regain some confidence. I think Rico and Derek and Cederian, I think they all felt like they could be wide receiver 3, and they might be. But Noah Rogers has had a really, really nice spring. I think he's going to show out to an extent. Obviously, the quarterbacks have to get them the ball. And hey, I can't wait to hear all you fans that are listening to this that are going to the game. Don't be shy about sharing your opinion about the quarterbacks. I'm anxious to see what Alabama fandom has to say about both Keelon Russell and Austin Mack after tomorrow. I think everyone is going to be impressed by both, unless they're basing their opinions solely on numbers and stats. Like, I would base it more on how they look throwing the ball. Did they make plays? Did they make mistakes? I don't care whether they were 12 of 19 for 140 or I don't care. Did they make plays? Did they run the offense? Did they make any big errors? That's the thing I really think to look for. But I think everyone's going to be impressed by both. And Josh Pate, friend of the show, Josh Pate, he was at the scrimmage last Friday. He was there and talked about it on his show last night. He said some surprising things about quarterback. I was surprised because he's been a guy that's been like me and Luke. He's been I think it's going to be a competition. I think Keelon's going to win it. That had been Josh Pate's take. His take has changed a little bit more towards Austin Mack, which is surprising. He was at the scrimmage on Friday. He spent a lot of time in the football building. He's a very well-received media guy around that building. And Josh is back to, hey, I'm at 50-50 here on whether it's Austin or Keelon.
here's what the thing. Of course, everybody wants to see the quarterback. So I mean, that was easy. But here's the thing I think about the quarterbacks. Your Josh Pate story has probably debunked this thought or bunked it. I'm not, Seinfeld had a whole thing about, do you debunk something or if it's already bunked or what? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. How do you bunk it in the first place?
So here's my thing about quarterbacks. Like, I think it's almost like a political debate where people already have their mind made up before you have a political debate. Like, nobody's going to go watch Trump and Kamala Harris and go, you know what? I'm switching sides.
Switched.
Nobody's ever done that in the history of debates. Well,
I think it used to happen in America.
It used to have happened.
It's been a couple of decades. It's been a couple of decades.
Entrenched.
Yes.
I'm hoping that our fan base, including me, can be open to the idea of, hey, look, it really could be Austin Mack. I know I've been saying, hey, it could be Austin Mack. In my heart of hearts, I've been thinking it's always going to be Keelon Russell. And I love Keelon Russell. I love Austin Mack. I'm just saying, in my head, I keep thinking, yeah, it's going to be Keelon Russell, and my heart. But maybe I need to be open to the idea of Austin Mack may win this thing, and it's not awful. It doesn't mean Keelon Russell lost it.
I would say I'm so high on Keelon myself, which has not changed. I've never, to this point, I've not changed any opinion about. I've compared Keelon to Bryce and Tua. I think he may be a Bryce Tua level talent, and both of those guys were ready to start and be great players in year 2. And here we are, Keelon, going into year 2. Is he Bryce or Tua? If Austin beats him out, I'm simply going to believe that Austin is just simply that good. And he's just simply that good. And if Austin is that good, for all of those who fear, well, if Austin wins the job, Keelon's gone. If Austin's good enough to beat Keelon Russell out, then he's probably good enough to pull a Ty Simpson and enter the draft next December, January. And then Keelon is the starting quarterback here the next year. There's no reason for Keelon to leave to be the starting quarterback elsewhere if he's going to be the starter here in 2027. So that's the way I look at it. I'm for both. I'm still, though, I'm not where Josh is. I'm never changed. I think it's going to be Keelon. And I've maintained from the start, Austin's going to make it hard on him. And I think that's exactly what's happening. I think it will be Keelon, but I think Austin Mack is making it really tough on the coaches and him, and it's not an easy decision to make. The people that are wrong-headed, in my opinion, the people that are just really wrong are, this is all window dressing. It's Keelon. No, it's not. They wouldn't be wasting all these first-team reps that Austin gets. Because tomorrow, Austin Mack's going to get 50% of the reps. DeBoer and them are coaching for their job. They're not going to waste first-team reps with a quarterback they've already decided on. This is a legit competition between two good football players.
I totally agree. Now we're going to talk about some visitors that are going to be there when we come back. Right now, though, I need to tell you about Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post like a sucker. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Look, listeners, this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about it in Locked On Bama. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply because they apply to everything. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Lots and lots and lots of sexy, cool, good playing visitors.
Sexy
visitor list for Alabama. Yeah.
I like that word.
Sarah Jean Underwood on the visitor list. 5-star.
I will admit, if that's the case, this program has really gone downhill. But I still like it. Tell
you what, Sarah Jean Underwood wants to come to Alabama on a scholarship. Kalen DeBoer, you better do that. That will put you on the hot seat if you don't. Sound her. So class of 2027 guys. Trent Seaborn and Oakley Keegan. Oakley Keegan, of course, is a tight end. I mean, what else would he be? That recently committed to Alabama. And Trent Seaborn is also a commitment that we have also said we cannot believe he isn't the host of Locked On Bama. He's so gumped up.
Yeah, we need to have him on the show real soon before he gets to Alabama. I keep saying that every time we mention his name, I'm like, we got to get Trent on the show.
Well, that's kind of on you.
It is kind of on me. I'll do that when
I told you I'm the Sock Swain.
That's right. Start yelling me to row hard. Now, I don't want to have any like after spring practice, because that's really the true off season. We're going to have more guests, I think, this off season, and I think Trent would be excellent guest. Then he'll be in spring practice. Oh yeah, Elijah Haven's going to be there this week.
Xavier Sab. Very sexy.
These names are sexy. That's right.
Nigel Newkirk, a top 100 running back. We've talked about out of Gainesville in Georgia.
Gainesville, Georgia. Yeah, teammate of Jamarian Matthews and Griffin, as they call him. Nigel Newkirk tore his ACL at the end of last season, but he's anticipated to be 100%. Great player. Love Newkirk and Trey Martin. They're about kind of the same to me. If I had to choose, I'd go Trey Martin, but it's close. Those two are very similar players to me, but I'd go Trey Martin, but it's tight.
Prince Goldsby, a top 100 linebacker out of Kansas City.
Talked about him on the Discord page this morning. Every now and then, for those that join the Discord, every now and then I get excited about a prospect and run to the Locked On Bama Discord page and talk about it. So I talked about him this morning. What I love about Goldsby, number one player, we haven't talked about him on the show, number one player in Missouri. Mm-hmm. So he's a thing. Everyone's recruiting this guy. 6'4" edge prospect. But what's interesting is, even though he's a 6'4", that's some pretty good length. And an edge guy, number one player in Missouri, Bama likes him inside. Bama likes this guy at their Mike or Sting position inside as an off-ball linebacker. Bone, those guys at BOL do a fantastic job. Bone, our friend of the show, Bone, he has really been banging the drum for this guy the last 2 or 3 days. I can read between the lines. Bone's optimistic here, I think, now he hasn't said that, but I'm just reading between the lines. But Bone's been banging the Goldsby drum. So Prince Goldsby, off-ball linebacker prospect for Alabama, number one player in Missouri in the 27 class. An
interesting name, Donovan Moore, who is a really good defensive line prospect. He's committed to Auburn. He's been a Boog his entire life.
Yeah.
And, he's committed to Auburn. I find it to be a very difficult proposition to get him to flip. But, I mean, he's coming. That can't hurt.
You know what people need to think about? This is what I think about. I think Donovan Moore is going to sign with Auburn. That's what I believe. Now, I could be wrong, but I believe he's going to sign with Auburn. But this is why Alabama and Alabama fans need to roll out the red carpet for this guy. You know why? Because just because he signs with Auburn doesn't mean it's over. What if he goes to Auburn and for whatever reason doesn't have a great experience or wants to get in the portal and go somewhere? You're not recruiting these guys just for today. Who knows what will happen? Aiden Holloway had an opportunity to play for Alabama out of high school and chose Auburn. He ended up at Alabama. So I'm just saying, Donovan Moore, different situation, different sport, but this is why you recruit these guys and why you roll out the red carpet. And then if he says, you know what, I'm sticking with Auburn, you just pat him on the back and wish him good luck. He might be back.
True. And then a couple other interesting ones. These are from 2028 because we're running out of time. How about Graham Simpson and Kingston Prier both coming in? Ooh. Kingston Prier from right here in Alexander City at Benjamin Russell High School. He's a phenom. But Graham Simpson, also a big thing, Ty Simpson's brother. And then a couple other names I just found to be interesting. Another wide receiver for 2028 out of Saraland. Man, they got wide receivers coming out of Saraland, out the yin yang. Devin Alford. And then John O'Dwyer, an offensive tackle from Nice.
Oh,
yeah. Who went to Nice, Jimmy? Do you remember?
Timothy Tebow.
Timothy J. Tebow. I have no idea if J is the middle.
I have no idea if his actual first name is Timothy. I assume so. First of all, the Alford kid is the younger brother of Dylan Alford, who signed, I believe, with Ole Miss maybe a year ago, and I think he's in Oxford now. But yeah, Saraland's pretty good at the Saraland kid. I love, who is also going to be on. I love this kid, Keone Snipes. Doesn't have an Alabama offer. Been offered by virtually everyone else who fields a college football team. But he chose to be at Alabama's A-Day. I think he likes Alabama. I would personally love to see Alabama offer him. I'm sky high on him. I think he might end up being the top 2028 prospect in the state. I do. And 6'6", 260 going into his junior year, listed everywhere as an edge, but this kid's going to be a monster in college. To me, he's going to be an interior monster.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow after A-Day, so be ready because we're coming, whether you want us to or not.
Live.
Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.